The Hollow Inheritance. Part 1. The Book of Bark. In the forgotten village of Duskvale, where the mist never lifted and the trees leaned like eavesdroppers, the Marrow family lived in a house that had long since stopped pretending to be a home. The walls wept brown streaks, the windows stared blankly, and the floorboards whispered names at night. Once, generations ago, the Marrows had been landowners, scholars, and healers. But that was before Elias Marrow, the great-grandfather, stole a relic from a wandering mystic, a silver locket etched with symbols that pulsed when touched. The mystic had warned him, "This is not yours to keep. It remembers its master." Elias laughed, buried the locket beneath the hearth, and built his legacy on cursed soil. From that moment, the Marrow name began to rot. Crops failed. Livestock were born twisted. Children came into the world with strange marks and stranger dreams. Now, decades later, the last of the line remained. Lorna Marrow, a widow with hands like cracked porcelain, her twin sons Bram and Silas, opposites in every way, and Elka, her mute daughter, who drew what she could not say. They lived in the house like ghosts waiting for their own haunting. Lorna sold broken antiques at the market, each one humming with forgotten memories. Bram wandered the woods, speaking to crows and collecting bones. Silas tried to hold the family together with logic, lists, and denial. Elka drew pictures that foretold disasters, a neighbor's barn burning, a child vanishing, a well drying up. The villagers whispered that the curse was waking again. One dusk, Bram returned from the forest with a bundle wrapped in moss. A book bound in bark and sinew, warm to the touch, whispering in a language older than the village itself. He claimed it spoke to him, that it could undo the curse. Silas scoffed, but Lorna, desperate and trembling, agreed to read from it. That night the house groaned. Elka's drawings turned violent, jagged lines, screaming mouths, a figure rising from the cellar. The wind howled names no one had spoken in centuries. Beneath the floorboards, something stirred. The curse, it seemed, was not just punishment, it was a promise, and the Marrows had just broken the seal. The next morning, the village awoke to find every mirror shattered. Birds flew in spirals, refusing to land. Lorna found her hands stained with ink she hadn't touched. Bram spoke in riddles. Silas began hearing footsteps behind him, even when alone. Elka drew a picture of the house split in two, with a figure standing between the halves, their father's face but no eyes. The family gathered around the book again. Lorna read a passage aloud, and the walls bled. Bram smiled. Silas screamed. Elka drew faster. The book demanded a sacrifice. It whispered of balance, of debt, of blood owed. Lorna refused. Bram offered himself. Silas tried to burn the book, but the flames turned blue and froze his hand. That night the cellar door opened on its own. They descended together, the air thick with rot and memory. At the bottom they found the locket, pulsing, waiting. Elka touched it, and the house above them screamed. The curse surged. The book opened to a blank page, and words began to write themselves. The blood remembers. The debt begins upstairs. The windows shattered inward. The villagers fled. The Marrows stood in the cellar, surrounded by roots that moved like veins. The locket melted into Elka's palm. Bram began to chant. Silas wept. Lorna saw her husband's face in the roots, whispering, "You should not have read." The house collapsed inward, but the cellar remained. The family was not buried. They were planted, and the book closed itself, waiting for the next hand to open it. Part 1 ends with Elka drawing a tree with faces in its bark and a village with no name.